Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are here once again at the Unhinged Universe with Aedan Applegate, and today we have my grandparents, Jim and Marian Applegate. How are we doing today, guys?
We're just fine.
Yeah.
So you guys have written some books in your time.
Yeah.
How many books have you written?
5 of them so far.
And are they a mixture of fiction, nonfiction, or?
They're all fiction and nonfiction. We have historical fiction, and that's like this book, and we have Listen for the Lark. Oh, that's this book.
Symphony of Spirits.
Symphony of Spirits. What's the other one? It's been too many years.
Pardon me?
No, that's different, though.
That's different.
That's a different.
We have 3 historical fiction,
Mm-hmm.
and then 2 books about his favorite pet cat.
They're memoirs, except the second one is mostly real. It's a memoir, except for the fact that your mom read the book Real Cats Don't Wear Collars to her 4th grade class, I think, was it? And the kids, after they read it, said, "You got to get another one like that, another one." And so I kept thinking, how could I do that?
And they told you they wanted to hear the cat speak.
Yeah, they went from the cat's point of view. So what I did was try to come up with an idea. And I came up with the idea, what if the cat, who's called Ebby, went to the empty lot across the street, tree covered, but no houses in there, where we found her when she was this big, and she brought a kitten back with her. And so she'd have to raise a kitten. And so that's the basis of the story. So that part's fiction. But everything that happened, there's in that particular book, there's lots of real pictures that we got with a game camera your dad gave us. There's pictures of coyotes and deer and turkeys, and I think that's about it. Coyotes, deer, and turkeys. But so historical fiction for 3 books, and a memoir it's called Real Cats Don't Wear Collars, and it's a story of our cat that we found when she was about this big, wandering in the woods. And we used to walk around our subdivision all the time. And during the summer, when it was in August, we walked past, and there was Evie about this big, in the woods. And we'd say, "Hi, kitty," and she'd run into the briars so nobody could get her. She followed a rabbit path into the briars. So if dogs chase her, that's where she'd go, and they couldn't get her.
This one is our second book, and we tried to get it published and couldn't because it was too long. So
How many pages was it?
700.
Oh,
The first
jeez.
Yeah, and no one would publish it. And our writing friends from Peninsula Writers said, "You've got to write a shorter one." So we started hacking that one apart and taking out things that weren't particular to this main character. But
This one's 392 pages now.
we got the idea about Penelope Princess, Von Princess, I'll get this straight, from an uncle of mine. And he was the family historian, and he knew all, he went back to the 1600s, and he told us this story about this young woman who came to the Netherlands in 1643.
Came from the Netherlands.
Yeah, and heading to New Amsterdam, which is now New York City. And she and her husband were shipwrecked off the coast of New Jersey, and they came ashore, and they were attacked by unfriendly Indians. And her husband was killed, and she was left for dead. And she managed with a head wound. Her stomach was sliced open, and her arm was hacked. And she went up into the sand dunes and hid there under some
Cedar
cedar
tree
tree roots. and just huddled there. And friendly Indians, the Sanhegans, came by, and between the two, older man and a younger man, decided, well, they were going to take her back to their, they had a family group of about 25. And they nursed her back to health. And she lived into her late 80s, and had 10 children with an arm that didn't work. And one of her boys is a great grandfather of mine. And that's about what we knew. And so her story was so riveting that we decided someday we have to write Penelope's story. So we're teachers, and you can go on from there.
We wrote this book together, and people say, that's impossible. How could you write a book with another person? You get everything all screwed up. And
we did.
Well, a little bit, at first, but it wasn't because we were fighting or anything. It was because it was 700 pages the first time, and so we had to figure out what are we going to take out of there. So we were working with a publisher in California for a while, and she suggested to us that we take out the first part. We started this when she was in the Netherlands because we thought it was important to show why she came to America. Why did she leave? And we found out that it was Philip of Spain at the time was trying to conquer all of Europe so he could control it. And in the Netherlands, if you were Protestant, it would be not unusual for them to hang 12 people at a time that were all Protestants. And so she was leaving that kind of environment to come to America, which nobody knew too much about. And,
See, we didn't know much about that. So one of the first things we had to do was a lot of research. So we researched, what was going on in her country. We researched about the boats and how it was to come across in a boat that was only about 50 feet long. And then we researched the Native Americans, and we found out all kinds of interesting things about them, because I was wondering how in the world she had her stomach slit open, and why didn't she come down with something that would kill her, an infection? And
we found out that they used the sap from milkweed, and it's like liquid Band-Aid. It's also antiseptic, but it's like iodine. You can't drink it, but you can put it on a wound and it won't hurt you. And so they did that to seal up her wounds. And
we're figuring they had to if she was going to survive.
We didn't know exactly
how
what happened. They didn't say, but we researched and found out the Indians did use that as a medication.
So how did you guys come to this idea? Like, how did you even figure out that you had this long, extremely long 1600s relative, or I guess great grand relative?
Well, that was Marian's uncle.
My Uncle Stockton. Yeah. Get that name. That's a weird name. But he had been doing research and talking to other family members and getting family trees, and then going back century after century, and we have all these.
It was a long process.
Yeah.
He told us that little bit of story in 1976, that you had an ancestor and she came to America and she had these problems, but that's all. So we had to imagine the rest, and
that's why it's fiction, but it's historical. A lot of the things in there are historically correct, but we had to imagine what it was like for her for the first year she was there on her own as a European living with Native Americans.
Oh, and there's going to be no records of that
No.
ever anywhere.
No,
So you
There
kind of
were-
have to.
there were a
But there
few
were-
things
Yeah.
later in her life.
For example, we when we were doing a research about it was called Fort Orange at the time, or New Amsterdam. We found out that there was a Christian leader there who was corrupt, and he had 3 black women slaves, and he was always trying to get under their skirts, but they fooled him all the time. They were smarter than he was, and when we found out that what had happened with him is that while he was crossing over, he would have dinner every night with the captain's table, but he would leave his wife, below decks, and she ended up starving to death along with the children. They were so undernourished they caught diseases and died.
This tale is true.
Yeah, this is a true part. But what it was leading to, we'd get a little bit of idea like that a little fact, and then we'd elaborate on it. Okay, if he was treating these slaves, wickedly, and they outsmarted him, how did they outsmart him? What did they do? And so then we could write that part. This is how they outsmarted him.
And we decided we really wanted to get back at him. So we we had things happen to him that he would not. It didn't happen, but
It was fun in the story.
just getting rid of this guy.
Yeah. But something really neat happened once we knew that there were these 3 black slaves. There's a part in the story where Penelope wants to take those slaves and go back to the Sanhegans and live with them, because this Hornwick was threatening her that if she didn't marry him, he was going to tell the whole city or fort that she was carrying a bastard child of the Makwa Indians. And so
When she was attacked when she first got to the Jersey coast.
Yeah. So they decide to leave, and when shortly after they leave, their sailing boat back to the New Jersey, across the Hudson River, a big storm comes up, a hurricane, and during the storm, they're afraid that the boat's going to be torn apart and sunk, and 2 of the black slaves, the younger 2, were crying and they were really upset. And the older slave, the oldest one, you remember her name?
Mm-mm.
No. Anyway.
It's been 20 years.
Yeah. The oldest one says to the younger ones, she said, "You faced the auction block and you survived, didn't you? Now, make God proud and be strong." And that's all we said in the book. And then we sold the books at a book fair one time, and a lady wrote us a letter back, and she said, "I want to show you how important that book was to me." She said, "I'd made some mistakes in my life, and they were not very smart." And after I read that part where the slave woman said, "Make God proud," it's hard for me to say it.
Mm-hmm.
She said, "I changed my life, and now I'm making God proud." So,
Now, that was a review of this book.
yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
She had read this book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a nice surprise.
But it's fictionalized,
Yeah.
and people need to know that when they're reading it. But there's a lot of people who love historical fiction because they can learn about a group of people, they can learn about an area, and that's all true. But then there's a nice little story in there too.
It holds it all together.
Yeah.
And when we decided to cut it from 700 pages, make it shorter, down 300 to 392 now, first we had to figure out which chapters are we going to take out. And the lady from California, go ahead.
Yeah.
Lady from
Well,
Cal-
we
go ahead.
we decided that she ends up marrying an Englishman who was in Fort Orange,
Yeah.
and they had a family, and that's where I'm a descendant of. But we decided to take his backstory out, and because it was her story, not his. He's a partial character, so we took his backstory out.
And a lot of hers too.
Yeah.
Because in the original version, this is where we got the title, Listen for the Lark. In the original version, Penelope was escaping from Spanish soldiers who were in there and were murdering people, and her husband had escaped first because they were rounding up the men and killing them, and he said, "Meet me at a certain place in the park, and I'll whistle the song of the lark, and that's where you'll know it's me and it's not Spanish soldiers or something." And so that's where we got the title from. So it becomes a symbol. It's a symbol of, like renewal and safety and things like that. And the sound of a lark is very pleasing. And so that's how we got that particular one.
Yeah. When it comes to like editing stuff out of your book, I'm pretty much the same way. When it comes to editing some of the videos I have to do for class, like that pub crawl documentary, I just fully put it together. I haven't like taken chunks out of it or anything like that. It's 11 minutes long of interviews, side interviews, and people doing dumb things while intoxicated. So I mean, and then eventually I'll have to submit it to a different type and then have to short it down because obviously nobody wants to see 11 minutes of drunk kids doing stupid stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, how was there parts of the book that you took out that you thought maybe you should have kept in instead?
Not when we were finished. In the beginning we did. We thought it might be important. But after talking to this lady from California, she said, you have to start the story fast. You have to get their attention. If they're going to the bookstore and they open it up, read the first page, and it doesn't go very fast, So we started it during a storm when they're just almost reached New York or Fort Amsterdam then. So it starts exciting, the ship is in trouble. They're almost there, but they can't get into the harbor because of the storm that goes on. So we had to remember that we had 2 whole chapters before that originally. And so we had to go through and make sure that if there was a character mentioned in that story, that we didn't drop him, and then have him pop up later on, like where did he come from? So we had to make sure of that, and then make sure that the opposite, we didn't, some character we took out of the first chapter, we doesn't want him to pop up at
Just
the end.
randomly,
So that kind of stuff. And then we did other things like we realized when we were editing this, Marian would read it because she reads it out loud slower. We had 2 computers set up, or 2 screens anyway, hooked together. So whatever showed up on my main one, it showed up on hers too. So we discovered things like too much repetition, like of a word. We might say the same word or the same phrase,
In the same paragraph.
same paragraph.
So we'd have to rearrange it and
Yeah. So they
shorten it, usually.
Yeah, take out repetition. What else do we have to take out? Make it concise, instead of saying, I can't think of an example here. We use 2 words, okay. One word would be an adverb like run quickly. We'd replace that with something like dash, So you get the picture of it, but it would be 1 word shorter. And then one of the tricks that we learned was to take out the adverb that modifies, just get the exact verb that you want, and then that would help a whole lot. And then we had to take out repetition. We'd find that up the top of the page, we wrote something, and down below is a sentence that says just about the same thing. No, we don't need that there then. No.
Well, we had, being teachers, we had to repeat a lot in the classroom because you got little Joe in the back who's doing something and you're giving him directions and he has no clue. So you kind of say it again, and then you might be ask somebody to say, okay, now what are we going to do now? So we're used to having to repeat, but we couldn't do it in the book. We had to cut it.
Another thing that we had to make sure that we did, I had a creative writing class in college with Dr. Grace Boehner at the University of Duke, and she was so good to me. She's the one that convinced me to be a teacher, and when I was in her creative writing class, she would have us write something and then read it to the class out loud, and then the class would critique it. And I learned that your brain, all the information that your brain is aware of comes from the five senses: sight, sound, taste, touch, or smell. So you've got to use those five senses when you're showing action. Otherwise, it's kind of vague. And we read a lot of Hemingway's work and a lot of Mark Twain's work, and the teacher would show us, see, look at the sense impressions, see how they do that, especially Hemingway. And so we go through that now. Did we just give it a vague general description, or do we use sense impressions to make it come alive? And because that's what happens with your brain when you read about something and then you can smell it and hear it, like that. Oh yeah, that's real. You can get right in that story and be in there, and that's what's important.
Yeah, my high school teacher, Heidi Bosch, Miss Bosch, she was my CAP class professor. It's a high school teacher, but she has the eligibility to teach CAP classes to give people college credits, stuff like that. And she was really the one who really taught me, kind of like what you said, like using words that can actually paint pictures in people's minds and make them like familiar to certain things. Now, Miss Bosch, she was very demanding sometimes. Sometimes I thought she was, crazy or something, but her madness has a way of working, and I turn out to be a way better writer than half of my friends because they barely know how to write papers sometimes.
Some other things that we learned in that creative writing. Did I cut you off too soon?
No, you're good.
Other things we learned. There are certain things that make a book have it's one whole thing. Everything has a certain part to it, and so there's a term called a motif, and the motif in this book is this thought that keeps going through Penelope's mind that if I'm pregnant, was it from my husband, or was it from the guy that raped me on the beach? But she doesn't even know if she's raped, So that she keeps thinking about that and worrying about that all through the story, but not on every page, but just enough so that it binds the whole thing together. So you don't find out until you finish the book, what really happened.
So just like a never-ending, like long trail of foreshadowing, pretty much.
Yeah, it's yeah.
So I had a question. So
Sure.
Penelope, she gets on the beach. She gets attacked by the Indians. How long, or you probably don't even know this, is there any time gap in between when she's attacked versus when she's rescued?
Yeah, according to what I just read recently, going back over my notes and stuff, it was a week that she was
She was
up
there for a week.
and when they found her, she was unconscious.
Probably blood
Yeah.
loss.
And then we changed that a little bit. Yeah, blood loss. And the last thing I read just this week was that the Indians that attacked her actually pulled her intestines out. And
We didn't include that in the book.
no, because I just found that this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but that'd been a little bit too gross anyway. There's one thing that happens in there that that I imagined. I imagined she's wrestling with this Indian, and she's on her back on the ground, and her husband, who had been injured in the storm on the ship, they had to carry him from the little boat and put him on the beach. He couldn't walk, couldn't get up, and he's there, like paralyzed, but not really. And while he's there, he's just inches from her. She sees two of the Indians take their bows and arrows, and they both shoot him right through the chest and kill him. She sees that, and then when this guy grabs her and he's going to rape her, and I imagine that she would be so angry she could be like the force of a lion, and so she tricks him. She smiles, and so he brings his head closer to her, and she grabs his neck with her teeth and rips it out. Now, a lot of people, when they read that, they said, "Oh, that's too disgusting. You can't have that in there." I was trying to show how angry she was, And,
Like the human body, once it's pushed to its limits, it just goes into animal mode pretty much, primal.
yeah. So that's all we knew was that she was attacked. We didn't know anything else about it. So I tried to imagine what would it be like if I had been there.
The Indians, called the Native Americans, have a museum there near Sandy Hook, and they found out that after she was remarried and had many children, they had a little community there. The main character who had rescued her would come and talk to her from time to time, and he came and warned her that other Indians were going to come and destroy their little village. So she and her new husband, they've been married for years, were able to get their group of people away and save them. So the Sanhegans saved her life and then helped her again later in life. That's what the people at that museum told us.
Yeah.
So they knew that much about her in her later years.
When she died in her
In her
90s, 80s.
There's two different stories. We heard late 80s, early 90s.
But she's supposed to have had enough, I think at least 10 children.
10 children.
Of her own. And they in turn had 10. Remember, there's no birth control back then. So she had 100, her 100 descendants before she died. So that sure helped America, right?
If she hadn't survived, I wouldn't be here today.
No.
Yeah. Or you.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, that's
Or
true.
you.
So you guys went on a local TV station to promote your book. Is that right?
It was one in Cedar Rapids, Michigan.
Okay, yeah.
Not Cedar Rapids, Grand Rapids.
Grand Rapids, Michigan. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have college friends that introduced us to a writing group that would meet every summer for a week in Michigan. And
All you do is write and read your stuff.
yeah, write and read your stuff. Yeah.
But Mike got us into something like this, but it was a TV studio. He ended up,
He was working there part-time
yeah,
at a TV studio. Kind of like what you're doing, but it
was
TV.
on TV.
Yeah.
I see you guys have this newspaper headline thing.
Yeah.
Want to show that?
Yeah.
You want to?
This
And
was-
what is that all about?
Trying to remember what town it was in.
Roscoe. Boyd, that's a Boyd paper.
Oh, the Floyd paper, yeah. The reporter from, I need a picture now. You can see
That's
that?
good. That's good right there.
Okay.
She wrote this article about us in our first book. Since we couldn't get this one published, we took the information that we had learned about the Indians and did a fictionalized. This guy, he got his. You wrote a fictionalized story of
Yeah.
what might have happened.
Yeah. Just something that happened in their life.
It's about the Sanhegans.
Yeah. I was trying to get started on a book. I just wanted to write a shorter book about the Sanhegans. We knew some of their problems. We knew that the Seneca Indians that lived in Pennsylvania and the Makwa that lived in what's now New York used to attack the Sanhegans because the Sanhegans were peaceful Indians. They didn't like to fight. They would always help a stranger where the others would kill him. And so as I'm trying to figure out, what's the conflict I'm going to have? And so Marian's brother's wife died of cancer. And he was a total wreck. He was a young man. He was only in his 40s, right? She died in her 40s, yeah.
50s.
50s. And he was already a grandpa. And I was thinking about him when I was thinking about writing the story. I thought, okay, I'll take a grandfather figure and I'll put him in a situation where he has to solve a problem. So I have a story. So I had some of the Seneca Indians, sometimes called the Minqua, steal his daughter and her daughter, his daughter and granddaughter. They were kidnapped and hauled away.
So all this is fiction.
Yeah.
But we use the information we found out about the local Native Americans and use that to tell the story about a Native American male who was despondent and how he took care of his family. It's fictionalized, but we use the information that we had
and
garnered for this.
to make him the hero of the story, the women are kidnapped, and it's at night. Nobody knows where they went, and the woman's husband was murdered, so he can't tell anybody where they went. So the young men figure they're probably the Makwas from what's today New York. So they all get in their canoes and they head out in the ocean, hoping to catch up with them, and then rescue their the mom and her daughter. But the grandfather knows that they're there, and they don't come back or anything for quite a while, and they're still gone. But
Okay, we don't need to tell the whole story.
We're going to give away the whole book.
Yeah.
I just sort of
Yeah.
How did we get him to be the main character? All the men go in the ocean and they go towards New York State now, and he's smart and he starts making concentric circles around their camp until he finally finds the footprints he recognized. The Cinco Indians wore moccasins with bear claws in the front of them, so they look like a bear print. And he knows that. So then he follows them, and that's how he catches up with them.
We found this interesting thing. It's a picture of New Amsterdam in 1632, and it shows some boats coming in, and
Here's over here.
Yeah.
okay,
Is that, you see it?
Yeah, it's just a little higher maybe.
we got that
Yeah,
out of a
good enough.
library
Yeah.
in New York.
But you imagine New York City looking like this.
Yeah. A small village.
1632, yeah.
Yeah, they're completely out of wood.
Yeah. So, finding pictures like that helped us.
But I think like the time frame of your guys' novel that you chose, I feel like it's kind of almost like free in a sense to write about, because like you don't have all these documents of historical people and stuff like that. Maybe you have like a few,
Mhm.
but you don't have like, pages on pages on pages like they do have like George Washington.
Yeah.
So I feel like it gives you guys a lot of almost like freedom to
Yeah.
figure out how you want to build the story.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was interesting when we got an email from a man who read the book, and he said, "That book isn't true. That didn't happen to my relative. She was my ancestor too, and that didn't happen." It's fiction, buddy. It's fiction.
It happened in 1600. Like he knows the details.
Yeah.
Oh, but he didn't understand that it was fiction.
Well, if people watching this want to check out this book, where can they find it?
On Amazon.
Amazon.com.
Amazon.
Yeah, you can find it. That, and there's 4 other books. The 3 of them are historical fiction, and the 2 of them are about my cat.
His
They're
little
memoirs.
kitty.
Yeah. And there's a little story about the title of the Real Cats Don't Wear Collars. Marian had a cat called Misty, And one day, she disappeared for about 3 days. We couldn't find her. And then all of a sudden she showed up home and she was fine. I said, oh, good. But she was missing her collar. I thought, what happened to her collar? Did she get into a fight or something? So a few days later, I happened to be walking around the yard. And at that time, our property was the border of a dairy farm. And the cattle could come right down past our bedroom 20 feet from our house on the other side of the barbed wire fence.
Mm.
And so they'd wake us up in the morning, the bell's ringing and they're going moo. And, but the cat must have tried to jump over that barbed wire fence, and she got caught, her collar got caught. So she must have been hanging for about 3 days before she managed to get the thing off.
Found her collar on the barbed wire.
Yeah, it was stuck on the barbed wire fence.
So that's how we came up with the title.
Yeah.
Real cats don't wear collars.
Because you put a collar on Evie, and the first thing she'd do is she'd spend the whole day taking it off.
Mm. I remember seeing Evie in your backyard. She was like this mystical creature that you saw like once in a while. She's like a unicorn in the forest.
Yeah.
Sometimes see if you're willing, if you're trusting enough. But,
Yeah, she's afraid of everybody except
Us.
And
she grew up with you guys.
yeah, she did.
So-
She was this big one.
I think Jeff was able to pet her once when you were holding her tight.
Now, one time I remember Jeff saying, she let me pet her this time. Well, what had happened, she was slowly dying, as she's 18 years old, of thyroid condition, thyroid problem. And our granddaughter, your cousin, dog died of cancer, and she had some leftover painkiller that she was to give her dog as it was dying from cancer. It was in terrible pain. She says, just give her a drop or two of that, and it's supposed to take away anxiety. So I had been giving her a couple of drops in her food, each morning, and she'd had that when your dad went to pet her, and she let him pet her because she wasn't afraid of anybody after she had that.
She was zoning out.
Not really. She just acted like she's no longer frightened of everybody. He just calmed her right down.
She's accepting of
Yeah.
things.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for being on the podcast.
Oh,
was
you're
a lot of
welcome.
fun.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Do you have any final words or if you want to shout out some of your other books?
The names of them?
Well,
Yeah.
pretty much we have.
Okay, the first one was Symphony of Spirits. Then,
What was the second one?
oh, no. Yeah, this is the second one. Okay, Symphony of Spirits was first. Then this one.
We had
Listen
the
for
two
the Lark.
Indian ones first, and then this.
No, the other, it was the Indian one, this one, and the second Indian book.
Okay, yeah.
And that was, what was the name of that one? It's got it here somewhere.
It's 20 years ago,
Yeah.
and we're getting old.
Um,
Can't remember.
it's got to be on one of these pages, man.
Yeah.
See if I can find it here. Yes. The one we can't find the title for is the first one that has pictures in it. It's, your dad gave us a game camera, and I tied it to a fence post, right, and the bird feeder and the watering trough was right in the view of that, and coyotes and deer and turkeys. What else?
And
Oh, those chipmunks.
your cousin Julie did the cover for us.
Mm-hmm.
And
She drew the forest scene.
Yeah.
Right, with the snake in it.
Yeah,
she drew it first and then put it on the computer and enhanced it and kind of blurred some things out. And so it isn't just, I don't know whether she did watercolor or oil.
I think it was watercolor.
Anyhow,
It looks more watercolor in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
photo.
You might have the name of the book in there. Somewhere.
no,
don't
I
have
can't
here.
find it. That's
Oh,
terrible.
maybe it's in
It's
here.
terrible.
It's in here. No, it wouldn't be in here.
It wouldn't be
because
in
that was
there.
after that.
No.
But they
anyway.
people at home can find all your books on Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just look
Yeah.
under. You could look under "Listen for the Lark," or you could look under James and Marian Applegate
And those Applegate Inc.
at Applegate Inc.
At
That's
Apple
not-
TV.
INK,
INK. Yeah.
not INC. INK.
So he thought that was, I forget, is that your idea or Lori's?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for your time,
Yeah, thank you guys.
grandson.